Shalom, this is David Ben Shaul again. I apologize for the last segment. I noticed there's a few little issues near the end where this particular emotions chart wasn't showing up. And also, I'm limited to obviously the 10-minute limitations that YouTube has put on me. And as a result, I realized I was running out of time. Anyway, without wasting any more time, let me just continue on what I was talking about. We're talking about emotions, and another word for emotions is heart. So if we take the word heart, go through the concordance, and look through the book of Psalms, we will find many verses on it that deal or have that word in it. But nonetheless, there's three in particular that I want to focus on. And the first one is Psalm 4. Like I was saying, I use the old-fashioned way. I actually use a physical book. Okay, Psalm 4:8 says on it, "But you put gladness in my heart, that is greater than theirs, at the time that their grain and wine abound." Now, grain and wine abound, obviously we're talking about food and drink. And what this particular verse is telling us is that we need to find our joy and pleasure, obviously, within our Creator. So, as we go on, we realize that the heart needs a correction, needs to be changed, needs to be brought back into order. Now, next verse is chapter 13, verse 3. 13:3 says, and by the way, real quick, these verses are taken from the Hebrew Bible, so you will find that verse 3 might be verse 2 if you're looking at Christian Bible. So there is, a slight variance. Verse 3: "How long must I set schemes within myself, in my heart, melancholy, even by day? How long will my enemy triumph over me?" The heart is a very difficult thing to control, and it schemes. What does that mean? Well, taking this verse slightly out of the context here, I want to focus more on the heart and its function. The heart is a seat of our own desires. So what happens is, as we desire something really strong, we'll find a means or ways in which to carry out that desire. Okay, let's move on to Psalm 119:7. Now remember what I was saying before, that Psalm 119 actually deals with the Torah, the first 5 books of our Bible, the books of Moses. And verse 119 specifically focuses on Torah and its statutes and its attributes and its effects on our lives. Now, going back to verse 7, we'll read here. Verse 7 is, "I will give thanks to you with upright heart when I study your righteous ordinances." Okay, obviously righteous ordinances you will find within the Torah itself. And an upright heart, what's an upright heart? That's a heart that follows our Creator and His will, not its own will. A broken and contrite heart is what our Creator looks for. What that means is a heart that stops seeking its own desires and starts saying, well, I want to seek God's desire. I want to seek the Creator's desires, not my desires. And that's easier said than done. So, this is not a simple task. So let's move on. Now, we just dealt with the emotions. So now let's move on to the very next verse. Next subject, which is actions. Now, with actions, what I ended up doing was looking for body. The word body. Where do we find body? Because obviously it's our physical body that is used as the instrument to bring out physical actions within the physical universe. I mean, it's simple, simple concept. So let's go to Psalm 16 here. Psalm 16, verse 9 in particular. And verse 9 says, "For this reason my heart does rejoice, and my soul is elated. My flesh too rests in confidence." Okay, flesh being the body. All right. So we see the correlation in this particular verse. We're actually dealing with other parts as well, the other levels. We're dealing with the heart, the soul as well. So this kind of covers all the bases, but it shows us that the three need to be in order, or I should say, the body will be at rest once the emotions and the mind are in order. So let's move on to 38 verse 4. And 38 verse 4 says, there is no soundness in my flesh because of your wrath, no peace in my bones because of my sin. Now, sin we actually perform through our physical deeds. The culmination, the carrying out of sin is ultimately through the body. It's more than merely thinking about it. It's actually doing it. That's when something becomes a sin. All right. Now let's go to Psalm 63:2. 63:2. 63:2 says, "O God, you are my God. I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs," flesh obviously the body, "longs for you, in a parched and thirsty land with no water." All right, so when our souls are in order, our intellect in order, our heart's in order, obviously our body will also be in order. And our inclination, even though we do tend to carry out sin, most people do desire to do the right thing. Psalm 119:20. Remember what I was saying about 119? This is actually, again, about the Torah. Let's go back to 119 and verse 120. Remember, chapter 119 is actually the longest in the book, in our Bibles. It's 176 verses long. Let's go to 120 here. So it's, "My flesh shuddered with dread of you, and I fear your judgments." Okay, so the body, again, needs to be brought back in order. Let's move on to the next chart here. And you will see in this chart we're dealing with all levels. Now what I wanted to do was actually present here, even though we saw a few verses already that did deal with all levels, I actually want to show you additional verses that deal with the mind, the intellect, the soul, the intellect, the emotions, and the body all together, having to be in order. Psalm 31:10 will be our first one. 31:10. Now 31:10